again. Andrew's luck runs out in Kansas City. Indianapolis Colts went into the game against the Kansas City Chiefs as the hottest team in the NFL, and they came out cooled off. The Colts did not look at all prepared. Frank Reich showed that he's a rookie head coach. 100%.
Well, really, I mean, I think the biggest play in that game that kept it somewhat interesting was that block punt that was running for the touchdown.
Yeah.
I think without that, it pretty much would have been, you switch the channel, wait for game two.
Yeah, find whatever local scrambled porn you can, because that's
going
to be better than what you'd have seen on that game.
Just about.
Remember those days? The scrambled porn days? Where you couldn't tell if what you were looking at was a boob or nothing?
We grew up in the days of barbarians. Today's kids have porn luxuries that we never knew.
Porn luxuries that we never knew. Back in my day.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
I had to walk uphill both ways to watch my porn.
We didn't have these smartphones. We had a family computer, and you hope you didn't get caught doing anything creepy.
Or get a virus on there.
Or you can watch Howard Stern on E! Network, and when the women take off their tops, they just blur it out a little. You can still see a nipple, though.
Yeah.
That was the other option. Girls Gone Wild infomercials late at night. Like, you didn't really see anything, but, like, you had imagination.
But then he just went to pay-per-view, and it was all good.
Right. So anyways, one thing that really struck me about this game is that the Chiefs were so dominant, and Mahomes didn't throw a single touchdown. He did not throw a touchdown. He ran for one, but he didn't throw one. And what that says to me isn't necessarily that the Colts took away the passing game. It's that without their biggest weapon, which is obviously Mahomes throwing touchdowns, without their biggest weapon, they found a way to win anyways.
Yep.
So, and without Kareem Hunt.
Without Kareem Hunt. Who might be a Bear next season? We don't know. Well, I mean, if that's the thing, it's
a crapshoot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm sure we're going to hear a ton of, rumors and odds ends come the off season. So we always do.
Yeah. So we will certainly see. But yeah, the game wasn't very good. In fact, there was.
I'm bringing up the stats now so we can.
The only good games were the NFC games.
Yeah. Andrew Luck, 19 for 36, 203 passing yards, 1 touchdown.
Like, 203 yards isn't the worst, but certainly not good.
They were outplayed. Marlon Mack held to 46 yards, no touchdowns. One of the hotter players, I think, as the season came to a close. Basically pretty much shut down in this one. T.Y. Hilton, 4 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. I mean,
Yeah.
Top talent, but one fumble. Andrew Luck did fumble once. It was lost fumble. But on the other side of things, Pat Mahomes, 27 for 41, 278 yards, 6.8, as you said, no touchdowns.
He had the 4-yard run.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a pass. Yeah. No. And seemingly out of nowhere, Damian Williams just manhandles the Colts. 25 carries, 129 yards for a touchdown.
Yep.
We all thought the Chiefs' run game was essentially dead in the water without Kareem Hunt, but
even Kelsey, I mean, granted, no touchdowns of his own, but a lot of big plays.
Yeah, 108 receiving yards.
Yep.
Not a bad stat line. You wish you could get that touchdown, but
yeah.
If you get 108 yards and a big win, is anyone really going to be upset?
Maybe if you had him on fantasy, but that's all done now. So
yeah, and I don't think they worry too much about the fantasy. So
I mean, I think the worst player on the team in that game was probably Sammy Watkins for them. -2 yards and a fumble.
Sammy Watkins, I thought he had a big play at the end.
Let's see. I'll confirm. Receiving or rushing, -2. 62 yards. I mean, off of 6 receptions.
Yeah, but what was his long? Give me 1 second. Sammy, he had a long of 34. He had a 34-yard reception.
Okay. Yeah. But, I mean, he's not really essential in that mix.
Oh, no. Not when you've got the receivers they have.
No.
And Kelsey, come on.
Chances are, let's face it, chances are if you're a top receiver in Buffalo, you go elsewhere, not so much.
Yeah. The one thing that really is on my mind now knowing that this game is over, and this is something we're going to get back to a little bit later in the show, is we know that Kansas City is a dangerous team, but can they beat the Patriots? That's
got to be the number one, just about the number one sports question of
this week.
I mean, sports fan to talk about.
Yeah.
Water cooler, wherever you are.
I don't believe in like the revenge game because my thinking is
Sunday night too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thinking is that if a team has quote unquote revenge on their mind, they're going to go out of their way to try and achieve that revenge, and that's going to stop them from playing a pure game. And if you go in thinking we're going to get revenge, you're probably not going to get revenge.
Probably not, and I'm looking at the preview here now, and I'm kind of surprised. They're giving the Chiefs right now 66.8% of winning the game.
I mean, they are at home.
Yeah, but
and the Patriots don't have a great track record of winning playoff games on the road because they typically don't go on the road to play these playoff games.
That's a good point. I mean, just like think of it, just like that alone. They can get a first round bye, but we're just going to sneak right in that number 2 spot.
Yeah,
we don't have to play the wild card.
Which I feel like we need reform of the playoff system. I don't like how. I think we should just take the 6 best records. And rank them 1 through 6, because there's no reason why. Why the Chargers at 12-4
should have been
the number 2 seed. Yeah, they should be the number 2 seed.
Yeah, but
they had the number 2 record in the NFL or in the AFC. There's no reason that the Patriots, who first of all playing a weak ass division,
oh yeah, I mean,
should have the no offense, O'Shea.
No offense here. I mean, let's face it. There's no outside of maybe Miami right now. There's really no opposition.
And they're a joke.
Yeah. I
mean, they just fired their head coach, who is now. We'll talk about that in a minute, a little bit later. But I want to focus on the other side. We talked about the Chiefs, and we'll get more into them in a little bit when we break down the actual championship games. But I want to talk about the Colts. Where do the Colts go now? What is next for the Indianapolis Colts? Do they pursue a trade for Antonio Brown? Do they pursue the possibility of Le'Veon Bell? Do they instead look to spend more money on the defense and look for a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence? What do the Colts need to do to be a legitimate threat in the AFC?
I think they definitely, they're going to stick with Andrew Luck for the time being.
I mean, there's no reason not to.
Right. What you can build around him, I think, only strengthens their case to go further in the playoffs next year.
And think about this. Quentin Nelson, who we've discussed, has the potential, the skill set to have been the offensive rookie of the year, but they're certainly not going to give it to him with Baker Mayfield and Saquon Barkley.
No, it's just forget it.
But what do you think? If you were the Colts and you made one move, what would that move be?
Honestly, I think you go AB because I don't think he likes being in Pittsburgh.
Well, it clearly doesn't.
No. I mean, I think it's worth... you got to take a risk at, somewheres, and I think maybe he might be the guy. Does he gel well with somebody like T.Y. Hilton's a question?
I was just going to say, do you want the alphabet receiving core, the A, B, and the T.Y.?
How do you guys think of AB as far as possibly being like a locker room cancer? Is he, is that on him or is that the Pittsburgh organization? I'm kind of leaning organization.
I think it's Big
also,
Ben.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think it's Ben Roethlisberger. I think 70% of it's Ben Roethlisberger. Because a lot of the players on the team are like, we love him, he's our quarterback, but he's kind of a dick.
More than a dick.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's a risk, if you're bringing him on and he turns out to be, locker room cancer, then that could completely derail you while he's under contract.
No, that you're completely right. But then at that point, it could be, if you're the Colts and you have as much money and you think that you are really only Antonio Brown away from winning the Super Bowl, if Antonio Brown ends up being, like you said, a locker room cancer, then just pay him to leave. Just be like, we're buying you out. Here's your money. Goodbye.
I think it's just him alone. It's in his best interest just to get out of there because as we discussed last week, they're not going to be in any good shape, at least in the near upcoming future.
Oh, the Steelers?
Yeah, you got Le'Veon's gone.
Yeah, and you got
a quarterback who just is.
He holds the franchise hostage.
Yeah, he's hanging on by a thread to retirement. Let's face it.
That's.
But what is there? What investment does he have left in that team? It's not at all a good scenario to be in. So
no, and he doesn't have an attitude like before the show. You and I we were talking about Phillip Rivers and like. Is he going, does he retire? Is this it for him? And I said possibly. He doesn't like being in Los Angeles.
No.
He wants to be back in San Diego.
I would too.
But if he does say, I'm thinking about retiring, if I'm the Colts, or not the Colts, if I'm the Chargers, I go to him and I say, how interested are you in retiring? And if he says anything less than 100%, that's when I, as a Charger, say, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and get a quarterback in the draft. We want you to groom him for 6 to 10 games. Mm-hmm. And midway through the season, the plan is that this quarterback will take over, and then you can ride off into the sunset as the greatest Chargers quarterback of all time. He's such a nice guy. He'd do it, I'm sure.
Who's to say, too, like he couldn't be more of, take on like a McCown's role and, just be like, hired a year at a time to be an offensive coach or because I think somebody like him goes into some form of coaching after he retires.
I don't know. With 8 kids, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to bring in money, so maybe.
Yeah, so you have to work and it gets to the point too where probably some of his kids can help out, around the house. So
yeah, he coaches their flag football team.
Yeah, well, naturally.
Could you imagine being in school and you're like, I want to play flag football, and Christine is the one that brought this up. Your kid comes to you and says, I want to play flag football, and you're like, oh man, I'm going to get to coach, and they're like, no, Dad, Phillip Rivers is the coach. How do you compare to Phillip Rivers?
You
don't unless you're Peyton Manning.
Yeah, back how many years now? About. About 7, 8 years.
Yeah,
we were discussing that too.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to the Colts because we're on the Colts game. Dan O'Shea, what would be the one move that you would do if you were the Colts? What is your priority? One move, whether it's through the draft with your $100 million that you have in free agency. What is it that you do?